I'm going to bark and make lots of noise.
This is one of the few homes still standing on Broadway.
Yeah, can you see past the pile of debris?
This is one of the few families back after the storm.
You're just happy your mama and daddy are home, aren't you?
Heather Kirchen was here just before it hit. Her husband, thankfully, was out.
Threw the dog in the car and we took off. I knew it was heading right for where we live.
A path of destruction 17 miles long and more than a mile wide. Nearly everything in this neighborhood gone. So terrible, even after returning, Heather hasn't seen the damage.
I purposely have not looked real closely, I think, just because it hits you. I'm sorry, I'm thinking about the people that probably were lost, but the fact that there's any walls standing anywhere through there just blows me away. I mean, we have two close friends that were on 8th Street and literally watched it rip the roof off, and they were holding a cat that was clawing and biting and let go, and they watched their cat be sucked up into the vortex.
No electricity, no water. No neighbors. The Kirchens still plan to stay the night in the place they almost lost.
We've been here so long, we've raised half the kids in our neighborhood. You know, it's only 10 blocks long and 1 block wide, so absolutely we want to stay.
You know, you pray and you thank God that your family is still here, and you put your head down and you do what needs to be done.
Not a lot of people left sifting through the rubble here in these neighborhoods today. We had storms throughout the day in the Oklahoma City area, and it made recovery even more difficult. In more, Josh Hinkle, KXAN News.
Look at it this way. An acre-foot is about this tall and the size of an entire football field. If you multiply that by 410,000 times, that's how much water they say Mexico owes the U.S. Well, let's measure. From the Wheatsville property line to the school, it's 1, 2, 3, 15, 16, 77, 78, 110, 149, 150. By my count, about half as close as it should be.
On the Lone Star side of the Louisiana state line,
If I break even, I'm happy.
this group of gals gathers in the Denny's parking lot on I-10.
Stay a few hours and come home. Honey, I'm home.
Ready to spend some of their retirement money.
We have a lady in the car that just loves, she'd rather gamble than eat.
They're among the hundreds from Houston who cram into cars,
And then we're going to eat and gamble and win.
board buses, and head on down the highway every day to Lake Charles, Louisiana, where casinos are close and legal. The town already has 2, and with their success, another is on the way. A report by the Louisiana Gaming Control Board says most of the area's customers originate from the Houston area and would be hurt by legalized gambling in Texas.
We need it here in Louisiana, and you're going to take our school supply money if you do it in Texas.
Here, casinos are part of the culture
Y'all like coming over here?
and one of the state's biggest moneymakers.
Bring in a lot of revenue, jobs, good for the economy.
It's all part of the $1.5 billion the Texas Gaming Association says Texas is losing each year by not having gambling. The state of Louisiana uses the money it earns for things like highway improvements, teacher salaries, even gambling addiction treatment.
Money well spent on a hotline and treatment centers, as people here say they've seen plenty of problem gambling.
Very few of them, I think, have the resolve to stop when they should stop.
If you're stupid enough to waste all your money at the casino, that's your problem.
Another concern, some say casinos can bring crime.
We've responded, just the Lake Charles Police Department, to 10,000 calls since 2000. That's about 2 calls, maybe 2.5 calls per day.
And that's on these properties alone, crime that would not exist without the casinos.
Those calls can range from anywhere from littering to suicide or homicides.
But talk to the Lake Charles locals, and most say the benefits outweigh the bad. Something these Texans want to try, having casinos here.
I think people would go more often. It would help us. We need it.
Now she'll have to vote in a new House district. Map makers drew new lines right through the middle of her neighborhood. Some are in the old House District 47, while others like Rondina are in the new House District 48. In the end, both chambers passed the legislation, but the governor said no with the veto. He agreed texting while driving is reckless and irresponsible, but said a ban would be a government effort to micromanage the behavior of adults.
A picture, it's a story.
A portrait studio was a fast way for Billy Birch and his wife Stephanie
Oh my goodness.
to meet the faces of a community they've called home less than a year. Their shop, along with most others downtown, showed signs of what happened in West last week.
It was probably about a foot out.
An explosion at the fertilizer plant a mile away.
And had to take and reach up and grab the desk and move it back up against the wall.
While many residents ran away from the scene, the couple ran to it.
And then the nursing home, people coming out bleeding, and I still had no idea what had happened.
Elderly patients buried under the rubble just a block away from the blast.
You had wires hanging down. There were light fixtures, some that were still hanging. There was no ceiling. You could hear water leaking in already. You could hear the screams from patients trying to get out.
It wasn't something you think about at the time. You just do what you have to do.
They rescued 16 people before emergency crews arrived.
And so for the people that have lost loved ones, I wouldn't want to be in their shoes right now. I would hate to think that my son was there when that happened, because he would have been one of the ones that might be unaccounted for or deceased. And that would have been one of the hardest things I've ever faced in my life, is to lose one of my children.
Pictures say something, tell a story. This one of the home they lost in a fire 2 years ago.
When you see that in a picture, it can describe every bit of their hurt, every bit of their pain, and every bit of their sorrow.
But in time, they say a picture can change for the better.
You just hope for the best at all times.
The couple now lives far enough away their current home was not hurt, and lucky for the people they saved, both are former military, which means their search and rescue training came in very handy. In West, Josh Hinkle, KXAN News. 3 years, and this is what it took to cut that computer forensics backlog. $287,000, 2 new staff members, and 6 new workstations. The bill would have essentially split the Texas map. It got a lot of attention, but never made it out of committee. It would have meant 26 counties, their own state, with a capital in Amarillo. Swinford's idea stemmed from something beyond just the panhandle, though. History shows when Texas became part of the nation in the 1840s, you could actually carve out as many as 5 states. And like Swinford, a lot of people have tried to do something like this over the years.
If time heals all wounds, it's taking a long while in West Connecticut. Five months have done little to wash away the hurt. And the loss in the village of Sandy Hook. Safe to say, business is not back to normal.
We're running a special for $5 a haircut.
A bargain might be the only way for some shops to get by. Nancy Richards still feels the tragedy in her sales.
That after the shooting, it just died down. And nobody was walking around, there was no laughter, there's no, nobody even wanting to come down here.
To face the facts, the names of 20 children and 6 others shot dead in December at their elementary school just down the road.
Because I drive by the site every day.
In a place so peaceful, the massacre breaks the silence here daily.
And I have 3 daughters who all went through that school.
And makes its way to the front of the gun control fight nationwide.
It was really hard to figure out what normal looked like or what it was going to feel like.
In the aftermath, Connecticut passed some of the strictest firearms laws in the country, limiting some guns and banning others.
Welcome to Texas, ladies and gentlemen.
Texas Governor Rick Perry says he saw those restrictions as an opportunity.
A state that has a legislature that cares more about being politically correct than they do about economic development will pay a price in the environment that we live in today.
I'm from Texas. I think it's a fantastic idea. Sooner the better, the faster, great.
After the shooting and the growing debate, Perry sent around 30 letters to firearms companies in states facing similar measures. He writes, responding to unwarranted government intrusion into your business, you may choose to consider relocating your manufacturing operations to a state that is more business friendly. His hook? Low taxes, a fair legal system, and financial incentives.
But the fact is, we have been doing economic development outreach. You can bet the state of Texas is going to reach out to you and say, hey, you want to come to a place where you can be freer?
On first brush, that sounds despicable.
On second glance, maybe understandable, even to the people of Sandy Hook.
What do I think about that? I think that's Rick Perry being Rick Perry.
No stranger to the Second Amendment, he's the NRA darling who shot a coyote on his morning jog, who gathers gun makers for a quick pick on Twitter, who wears the come and take it mentality as a badge.
We want to invite you. If you're not already here, you consider coming to the place that still loves freedom.
Perry's approach is not unlike Nancy Richards.
Any new businesses, I think, is a good thing, no matter what happens.
He's doing what he can to attract companies. She's doing the same thing for customers.
So it's been working out so far.
Perry and a handful of other lawmakers are seeing success in their efforts to attract gun makers to Texas. Colt Competition is relocating from Connecticut. We went to the opening of Shield Tactical last week in Shiner, and a company called Tracking Point will open in Pflugerville this fall.
Well, I'll tell you what the holdup is. No, actually, I'll show you. Just look up there.
More people are parking up here in the more than 4,000 spots available in downtown garages. Trailer unhitched right here and sailed through the wall of Mariana's Kitchen. The smoke keeps coming in waves from over that way, this way to 973, FM 973, and that neighborhood right there.
We have these old glass records.
Over the last 5 years, Lars Hendricks has come to love how the state's language is a little different, something called the Texas twang.
Everyone would have said garden, not garden.
3 decades ago, he says 80% of Texans talked like this.
I've lived in Texas all my life. I was born in Titus County.
Now his research with the Texas English Project shows those numbers have definitely dipped.
I lived in Texas all my life. I was born in Titus County.
Too soon to say how much we've lost. His UT study measures the amount of vowels with a long, drawn-out accent.
When you say nice white rice as nice white rice, that's a typically Texan way of pronouncing those vowels.
You hear it from our leaders.
I'm not riding off into the West.
He says, man, you look like George Bush.
And from people on TV.
They also had some high-tech wizardry.
So we're live in downtown Austin tonight here in Cargyle, KXAN News.
But for most, though, it's only at certain times and places and around select groups of people.
What do you want me to say in Texas accent? I like your tie.
Tex-Mex.
If I eat any more, I'm gonna tump over.
You mean like friend? I, hand, reveal.
You can blame immigration, urbanization, and gentrification. Using the twang the least these days, people in cities and people under 25.
I don't think I have an accent.
I don't have any accent.
I don't have a Texas accent.
Why not?
Too much television.
I don't know. It doesn't run in my family.
This is my best Texas accent. I'm from Texas, and this is my accent.
The study shows Texans still talking this way usually embrace it.
Howdy, y'all.
What's up, y'all?
Howdy, y'all. How are you doing today? Hey, y'all. How you doing?
Henrik says hearing that, it's a bright point to a fading feature.
I want to assure you that it's not dying out. It's being used less, but not dying out.